First contact deception. Grand Admiral Vorex stood on the command deck of the Celestial Harvester, flagship of the Zar'xian scout fleet. His 4 eyes, each a different shade of amber, scanned the holographic display of the unremarkable yellow star system they had just entered. The fleet's mission was simple: catalog potential conquest targets for the glory of the Zar'xian Imperium, a task they had performed across 17 sectors without incident. Preliminary scans complete, Admiral, announced Science Commander Thought-Provoking, her tendrils undulating with excitement. Third planet shows definite signs of technological development. Primitive radio waves, basic satellite network, localized space presence. Classification. Developmental stage 2.3, minimal threat potential. Vorex's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Stage 2.3 civilizations were ideal conquest targets, advanced enough to provide useful resources and slave labor, yet insufficiently developed to mount any meaningful resistance against Zar'xian technology. Deploy long-range observation drones, Vorex ordered. Standard protocol. Maintain stealth orbit behind the planet's natural satellite. The Celestial Harvester released a swarm of silver, disc-shaped probes that accelerated silently toward the blue planet. Each probe contained advanced scanning technology capable of analyzing everything from industrial capacity to military readiness. The Zar'xians had perfected this reconnaissance procedure across hundreds of worlds, and none had ever detected their presence prior to invasion. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Maya Chen watched the alien probes enter Earth's orbit on her quantum-linked display. She allowed herself a small smile as she addressed the assembled military leaders in the hidden command center known as Bastion Alpha. Right on schedule, she noted. The Zar'xian scout fleet has arrived, exactly as the Proxima interceptor predicted. 10 years earlier, humanity's first faster-than-light probe had captured communications from the Zar'xian fleet, detailing their systematic conquest of inhabited worlds across the galaxy. Rather than panic, Earth's unified government had made a fateful decision: to hide. Not in bunkers or shelters, but behind a facade of technological primitiveness. For the past decade, humanity had engaged in the greatest deception operation in history. While maintaining the appearance of an early spacefaring civilization, they had secretly developed technology centuries beyond what they displayed publicly. Admiral William Kagawa, commander of Earth's hidden fleet, studied the alien vessels with practiced eyes. Their technology hasn't changed much since our interceptor's data. Quantum shields, gravitic propulsion, plasma weaponry. Formidable, but nothing we haven't prepared for. The question remains, said President Amara Okafor through her secure holographic presence. Do we maintain the deception or reveal ourselves? The Proxima data was clear, General Chen replied. The Zar'xians don't negotiate or establish peaceful contact. They assess, catalog, and conquer. Once they identify a civilization as a potential target, destruction is inevitable. Then we stick to the plan, the president decided. Operation Shadow Dance continues. Let them see what we want them to see. In low Earth orbit, the Zar'xian probes began their systematic analysis. They observed antiquated fossil fuel power plants, facades hiding zero-point energy generators, primitive jet aircraft, remotely controlled drones, while real aerospace operations happened in dimensional slip space, and nuclear missile silos, empty shells while actual defense systems remained quantum-cloaked. On the Celestial Harvester, Science Commander Thought-Provoking's excitement grew as the data streamed in. Confirmation of Stage 2.3 classification, Admiral. Their most advanced computing technology uses basic semiconductors. Their weapons rely on chemical propellants and crude nuclear fission. They've barely established a presence on their own satellite. Excellent, Vorex replied. Standard invasion protocol is authorized. Prepare the fleet for... Admiral, interrupted Thought-Provoking, her tendrils suddenly rigid. I'm detecting anomalies in the data stream from probe cluster 7. Explain. 3 probes have ceased transmission simultaneously. No distress signal, No indication of malfunction. They simply vanished. Vorex's secondary eyes narrowed. Equipment failure. Unlikely. Zar'xian probe technology has a failure rate of 0.3% per stellar cycle. The probability of 3 simultaneous failures is virtually zero. Deploy a second-wave surveillance squadron, Vorex ordered. Full spectrum analysis. If these primitives have somehow detected our presence, I want to know how. In an unmarked facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Commander Aisha Ramirez watched her team guide the captured Zar'xian probes into a quantum-shielded examination chamber. Beautiful work, she told the drone operators who had snatched the alien devices using directed gravity fields that left no trace. Not a scratch on them. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, head of Sinotechnology Research, was already analyzing the probes through a molecular scanner. Fascinating design. Their quantum entanglement communication system is quite elegant, though their encryption is surprisingly basic. Commander Ramirez activated her neural link to Bastion Alpha. General Chen, we have the packages secured. Dr. Nakamura believes we can reverse engineer their communication protocols within the hour. Excellent, came the general's reply. Once you've cracked their systems, initiate Phase 2. Let's feed our visitors some carefully curated intelligence. With pleasure, Mom. Admiral Vorex's patience was wearing thin. The second wave of probes had revealed nothing unusual about the primitive planet, yet 5 more observation units had now gone silent. There must be an explanation, he insisted, pacing the command deck with agitated steps. Run a diagnostic on the remaining probes. Already done. Admiral, reported Trezix. All systems functioning normally. However, she hesitated, her tendrils twisting anxiously. Speak freely, Commander. The energy readings from the planet's surface match expected patterns for a stage 2.3 civilization, but there are inconsistencies in the background radiation. Microfluctuations that don't correspond to any known technological signature. It could be nothing. Natural planetary variance, perhaps. But, Vorex completed her thought. But you don't believe in coincidences. Neither do I. He turned to his tactical officer. Launch a direct reconnaissance mission. I want eyes on the surface. Sir, the tactical officer's scales paled slightly. That violates standard protocol for pre-invasion assessment. I'm well aware, Lieutenant. Prepare a stealth shuttle. I'll lead the mission myself. The emergency session of Earth's Defense Council was tense as General Chen delivered the news. The Zar'xians are deviating from their standard protocol. They're sending a physical reconnaissance team to the surface, led by their Admiral. Admiral Kagawa leaned forward. This is unprecedented. According to the Proxima data, they never make surface contact before invasion. They suspect something, President Okafor concluded. The question is, how much do they know? Dr. Eliza Santos, Chief of Psychological Operations, offered her analysis. Based on their communications, they're experiencing uncertainty, not confirmation. They've noticed anomalies they can't explain, but they don't yet have evidence of deception. This presents an opportunity, General Chen said. If we can control exactly what their landing party observes, we can reinforce our primitive facade while gathering intelligence on their command structure. And if we capture their admiral? Asked the president. A momentary silence fell over the room before Admiral Kagawa spoke. Then we may have leverage when the inevitable conflict begins. The president nodded. Approved. Operation Glasshouse is now active. Let's prepare a suitable welcome for our visitors. The Zar'xian shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere under cover of darkness, its advanced stealth technology rendering it invisible to what the aliens believed were the planet's most sophisticated detection systems. Admiral Vorex watched the approaching coastline of the landmass, the natives called North America, specifically targeting a sparsely populated region near large military installations. Sensors detect no awareness of our approach, reported the pilot. Their primitive radar systems are focused on atmospheric conditions, not space-based threats. Remember, Vorex instructed his team of 6 elite commandos. This is reconnaissance only. We observe, we analyze, we depart. No contact with the indigenous species. The shuttle touched down silently in a forested area 30 kilometers from a military base. As the team disembarked, they activated their personal cloaking fields, technology that had proven effective on hundreds of worlds at similar developmental stages. What the Zar'xians couldn't know was that every movement, every breath they took was being monitored by quantum-entangled sensors embedded throughout the region. Their stealth approach had been tracked from the moment they left their mothership, and their landing zone was no accident. They had been subtly guided there through manipulated satellite data fed to their probes. As Admiral Vorex led his team toward what sensors indicated was a primitive nuclear missile silo, he remained unaware that the Earth's most sophisticated trap had just been sprung. The hunter becomes the hunted. Admiral Vorex's 4 eyes narrowed as his team approached the human military installation. Something felt wrong. The facility matched the probe data perfectly. Outdated security systems, predictable patrol patterns, primitive weaponry. Yet his instincts, honed across decades of conquest, sensed a discrepancy he couldn't articulate. Commander Trezix, analyze atmospheric composition within a 2-kilometer radius. He ordered through their secure comm system, confirming standard nitrogen-oxygen mix, expected pollutants consistent with fossil fuel usage. She replied after a moment. However, her voice trailed off. Speak freely. There's an unusual electromagnetic harmonic in the background radiation. Extremely subtle. I've never encountered this pattern before. Vorex's mandibles clicked in agitation. Could it be detection technology beyond their apparent capabilities? Impossible to determine without comparative data. The Admiral made a swift decision. Change of plans. We're going to accelerate the assessment process. Deploy a tactical probe toward their defense installation. Let's see how they respond to a direct incursion. One of the commandos activated a fist-sized metallic sphere that lifted silently into the air and streaked toward the human military base. In Bastion Alpha, General Chen watched the alien reconnaissance team through quantum-linked sensors that bypassed their cloaking technology completely. They're deploying a tactical probe toward Peterson Air Base, reported Lieutenant Colonel Jackson. Shall we shoot it down? No, the general replied. Let it penetrate our outer perimeter. Show them exactly what we want them to see. She activated her neural link. Major Rivera, is your team in position? Yes, Mom, came the immediate response. Operation Glasshouse is ready. Execute on my mark. Now. As the Zar'xian probe breached the airspace above Peterson Air Base, it encountered exactly what it expected. Scrambling fighter jets with combustion engines, radar systems struggling to lock onto its stealth profile, and panicked radio communications as the humans detected an anomalous radar signature. What the probe didn't detect was the quantum field envelope that had just activated around the entire installation, creating a perfect simulation while the actual base and its personnel had transitioned into dimensional slip space milliseconds earlier. On the Celestial Harvester, the command crew watched the probe's transmission with growing confidence. Their response is consistent with Stage 2.3 capabilities, reported the tactical officer. Their aircraft can't achieve the necessary altitude or speed to intercept our probe. Science Commander Trezix nodded in agreement, but a slight undulation of her tendrils betrayed lingering concern. The response patterns are predictable, perhaps too predictable. Before she could elaborate, a priority alert flashed across their communication systems. Admiral Vorex's team has gone silent, announced the communications officer. No response to standard queries. Acting Commander Krezar's spinal ridges flared with concern. Deploy immediate extraction forces. Full combat protocol. What had happened to Admiral Vorex became clear when he regained consciousness in a featureless white room, separated from his team and stripped of his equipment. A single human female stood before him, dark-skinned with short-cropped hair and wearing what appeared to be a simple gray uniform with no insignia. Admiral Vorex of the Zar'xian Scout Fleet. She said in perfect Zar'xian language, "I am General Maya Chen of Earth's Unified Defense Force. Welcome to our planet." Vorex's 4 eyes blinked in astonishment. How? How do you know our language?" "The same way we know about your empire's systematic conquest of 17 sectors. The same way we've been preparing for your arrival for the past decade." General Chen's expression remained impassive. "We've been watching you for quite some time, Admiral." "Impossible," Vorex hissed. "Your civilization is barely capable of reaching your own satellite." General Chen smiled thinly. "A carefully crafted illusion, Admiral. Much like the one your empire presents to the galaxy, benevolent explorers rather than methodical conquerors." With a subtle gesture, she caused the white walls around them to dissolve, revealing that they were standing on a platform suspended in an enormous underground hangar filled with spacecraft unlike anything in the Zar'xian technical database. "This," she said, "is humanity's actual technological state. We mastered zero-point energy 30 years ago. Dimensional slip space travel 20 years ago. Quantum consciousness transfer a decade ago." Vorex's mandibles clicked rapidly in distress. "Why reveal this to me? My fleet will detect my capture and initiate immediate invasion protocols." "They already have," General Chen replied calmly. 3 Zar'xian assault cruisers are currently descending toward Peterson Air Base, exactly as we anticipated. On the Celestial Harvester, panic was spreading through the command deck. The assault cruisers sent to extract Admiral Vorex had encountered no resistance upon reaching the planet's surface, but they had also found no trace of the Admiral or his team. Moreover, the primitive military installation that had been their target seemed to have vanished entirely, leaving only empty terrain where sensors had previously detected structures and personnel. "This is impossible," Acting Commander Krezar growled. "Run a full diagnostic on all sensor systems." "Already complete, sir," replied Science Commander Trezix. "All systems functioning normally." But a blinding flash on the view screen interrupted her. One of the assault cruisers had suddenly erupted in a sphere of blue-white energy, unlike any weapons discharge they had ever witnessed. "Cruiser Inevitable Conquest is gone, sir," reported the tactical officer, his voice trembling. "No debris, no energy signature. It's as if it was removed from existence." Before Krezar could respond, the second cruiser disappeared in an identical flash. "Full retreat," he bellowed. "All ships, emergency jump protocols. We are facing a Class 1 hostile civilization." As the Celestial Harvester turned to flee, the ship's quantum communicator activated automatically, programmed to send a high-priority message to the Imperial homeworld in the event of catastrophic mission failure. In the observation room adjacent to Admiral Vorex's holding cell, President Okafor watched as the alien commander viewed the destruction of his assault cruisers on a holographic display. "Was that necessary?" she asked quietly. General Chen nodded. "According to the Proxima data, the Zar'xians only respect overwhelming force. If we had shown any restraint, they would have interpreted it as weakness." "And their remaining ships?" "We're allowing their flagship to escape," Admiral Kagawa answered. "Their automatic protocols will send a warning message back to their homeworld. That message is our best defense against immediate retaliation." The President considered this. "You're hoping fear will keep them away." "Fear has proven to be an effective deterrent throughout human history," General Chen observed. "Now we're applying that principle on a galactic scale." As the Celestial Harvester accelerated to jump velocity, Science Commander Trezix worked frantically to compile all mission data into the automated transmission. The Imperium needed to understand what they had encountered, a civilization that had hidden its true capabilities, that had monitored their every move from the beginning, that possessed technology capable of making Zar'xian warships simply cease to exist. The quantum communicator activated, sending a compressed data packet through subspace. Its contents included all sensor readings, probe data, and a final assessment. ORGNT. Classification upgrade required for Sol 3. Designation: Earth. Actual technological state. Minimum stage 5.7. Threat assessment. Max IMUM. Recommended action. Avoid ALCONTACT. Addendum. They were waiting for us. They have always been waiting. As the transmission completed, Tracix felt the familiar sensation of jump drive activation. They would return to the Imperium, report their findings, and likely face censure for losing an Admiral and 2 assault cruisers. But they would survive. The ship never completed its jump. In the space surrounding Earth, dormant defense platforms that had remained completely undetectable to Zar'xian sensors suddenly activated, projecting an interlocking network of quantum disruption fields. The celestial harvester's jump drive, attempting to fold space-time, instead collapsed in upon itself. The final message from the Zar'xian scout fleet had already been sent, however. Throughout the galaxy, the warning would spread among spacefaring civilizations. Earth was not to be approached. Humanity was not to be challenged. The hunters of the galaxy now had something they had never experienced before. They had something to fear. Months later, in a secure chamber beneath the United Nations in New York, Earth's leaders debated their next steps. The Zar'xian threat has been neutralized, General Chen reported, but their final transmission ensures that other civilizations now know of our existence and our capabilities. Or at least, they know the capabilities we chose to reveal. Admiral Kagawa added, "Our most advanced technologies remain secret." President Okafor studied the galactic map before them, showing hundreds of identified civilizations of varying technological levels. "Then we continue with Operation Starlight." General Chen nodded. "Phase 1 is complete. We've established a reputation for overwhelming defense capabilities. Now we begin Phase 2, selective outreach to peaceful civilizations." "And those that aren't peaceful?" asked a council member. Admiral Kagawa's expression hardened slightly. "They've received their warning. If they choose to ignore it, they'll discover that what we revealed to the Zar'xians was just the beginning of what humanity is capable of." As the meeting continued, satellites around Earth continued broadcasting their carefully crafted signals of a Stage 2.3 civilization. Radio shows, television broadcasts, and basic scientific transmissions. Behind this facade, humanity prepared for its emergence onto the galactic stage. They would extend hands in friendship to those who sought peaceful coexistence. For those who didn't, the fate of the Zar'xian scout fleet would serve as a stark reminder. Some species are not meant to be prey.